Anyway, so continuing with our next story. So for some local news, so many schools have already resumed or started their semesters. For others, they're going to open either later this month or in the near future. Question here is, are they ready or prepared for the online classes that's going to be implemented currently and in the near future, hopefully. Now, for the public education or public institution or public education system in particular, what will happen to them? Obviously, they're not as privileged as the private education system. So the DepEd or the Department of Education is partnering with a cable company, in particular SkyCable, to create a TV station or TV channel, sorry, to implement the distance learning for schools amid the pandemic. So this would be applied in different divisions, in particular from Baguio, Lawag, Cebu, Iloilo, Davao, and let's see here. The other areas here. Yeah, it mentions, so as mentioned earlier, it's Baguio, Lawag, Cebu, Davao, General Santos, Zamboanga. So they would air shows by DepEd TV on cable, which is good, great news in a sense. It's one thing to provide education through cable, but before the pandemic, our government is already having a difficult time providing actual services that is adequate for our students in their respective schools, right? So with technology incorporated here, can people afford to watch cable TVs? Or do they even have TVs? If it's just regular TV station or free channel, I think that's something that students can benefit, but not everyone is afforded to have a television at home. Let's assume they have their own television set at home. Do they have access? Can they afford to pay for cable TV, which is a additional cost altogether? And if you're in the provincial area, I think access is a major problem here. And if you need internet access, I don't know if families could afford to pay as such. And the question here is, who will provide the content here? So will the DepEd provide instructional classes here that will be implemented nationwide here, so that lessons could be transmitted to the different students attending the online class? And the fact that online is the key word here, how can students afford to go online if they don't have the money to pay for internet access? Unless the schools provide it, which is, since they cannot go to schools, so how can they reach to the different houses, in the entire country? Unless we have 5G technology readily available for everyone to access here, which is, we're a long ways to go from there. And there's a separate agreement here. It stated that SkyCable also signed an agreement with DepEd to provide fiber internet connections in the 32 priority schools, which is great if you think about it. But the problem here is it connecting just the schools, meaning the students have to be in the schools to be able to access the internet, to be able to watch those television shows? But the problem here is, you're trying to social distance from one another, so it may not be practical. And does this mean that you're going to create a Wi-Fi connections of sorts, so that students in a particular region, province, or barangay can simultaneously share their internet connection? If that was the case, I think that would be more feasible and more reasonable for our students here, so that the fact they have to have their own phones is one thing, but we're asking too much here. But we have to see how this goes and if it would be implemented effectively here.